How we doing tonight, everyone? Sorry I run a few minutes late, but we're here, we're live, and we're ready to talk some Gamecocks. First and foremost, I want to send some prayers out to Ryan Mallett and his family um, through their loss, and also to Jimmy Johnson, who I met a few times in my NASCAR career. Just want to send some prayers out to those guys. I also want to say happy birthday to America. Another birthday come and gone for the United States, and another year older, just like the rest of us, right? Hopefully everyone had a great 4th of July and didn't lose a lot of toes or fingers or toes. If you already lost fingers in the past, maybe you were shooting some bottle rockets at your toes this year. Hopefully you still have all those too. Little subject I wanted to get on tonight. I did a lot of research into this, and it was something that was on my mind was a lot of the Gamecock players on offense that I'm ready to see this year. See how they improved. A lot of offensive changes. Of course, we changed offensive coordinators. Brought in Dowell Loggins, who had a long history of coaching in the NFL. How you doing there, Mr. P. Digits? Nice to see you, buddy. But he had a long line of years in the NFL, him head coaching with Chicago. I think he was with the Jets also for a while. And then he went to Penn State as an analyst, but he got hired on at Arkansas as the tight ends coach and worked under Kendall Browse. So kind of what I've heard, South Carolina's probably going to open it up, throw the ball a little more this year, just because it's the Browse system. The other thing is our running back room. We don't know what it's going to be yet. Brought in transfer Mario Anderson from Newberry, their small college in South Carolina. Had a lot of yards for Newberry, but we know Newberry is not in the SEC, so we'll see that. DeCarrion Joyner moved over to running back from wide receiver, also / quarterback. We've seen him play both. And we'll go through some stats and some guys we're excited to see. And who I want to see improve this year. And if South Carolina is going to get better, we're going to have to make some improvements on offense, honestly. I mean, last year was a little rough. I kind of looked up the stats of where we were last year overall on offense, and it just our running back room, 411 carries for 1,545 yards, 27 touchdowns. And that's why I say our running back room, we're going to have to get better. We did lose Marshawn Lloyd to the transfer portal. He had a 500 and something yards rushing last year. Jaheim Bell, who was a tight end that we switched to running back, also transferred out. So those two guys aren't in the backfield this year. So it's going to be a running back by committee. I don't see any changes coming to that. I think last year we generated a lot of our rushing game through sweeps, reverses, a lot of wide receiver type screens. I would look for that to probably still be the same this year. You're going to see a lot of wide receivers with the football in their hand. One thing with DeCarrion Joyner being back there and also being a ex quarterback or former quarterback, however you want to put it, it's I can see some trick plays coming off of that. A lot of maybe Wildcat type throws instead of Wildcat type runs. So I think they'll generate some offense. Last year, South Carolina ended up with the #1 special teams in the country. Pete Limbo, who was hired in to be our special team coordinator, is a awesome special teams coach. And we use a lot of starters on special teams. I know some schools kind of lean away from using starters on their special teams, but South Carolina, basically, these guys go over and beg the coach to be on special teams because, every starter is not always going to make it to the NFL off of the position they play in. But if you're really good at special teams, you take you know what I'm saying? You can gain another, I guess you can make yourself a little bit better and put eyes of NFL teams on you just for special teams unit. So I look for that to continue. But like I said, our offense has definitely got to get better, and it starts all with Spencer Rattler. See how he does with the new offensive coordinator, Dow Loggins. Like I said, my expectations for Spencer, he's going to have smaller verbiage when he's making play calls. It won't be as confusing as the Marcus Satterfield offensive playbook, the playbook that was the book of 1 million plays, which is difficult for any quarter, especially college. I mean, we know these college kids, they're not in the NFL. They get about 20 hours a week to be able to practice. You know, yeah, they spend a lot of time in film rooms and studying, but they also still have to take classes and do their work in school. So if you over confuse the system that the kids are running, and we heard it out of Spencer last year, you know, some interviews after games, you could almost see it in the game when he's looking over at the sideline. He's got his hands up. He's like, what are we doing? What are we calling? What are we doing? Very confusing. So I think that's the first key to South Carolina's offense is just simplifying. Actually do something we never did under Marcus Satterfield. Try and run a slant pattern. That'd be great. I haven't seen a slant pass in South Carolina in 2 years. I mean, it's kind of funny that all these teams run it except for us. But hopefully this year we'll see some of that stuff. I think we use a lot of two tight end sets. And we'll go down through. We do have Juice Wells coming back. Wells was the spotlight of our receiving corps last year. One of the top receivers in the SEC returning. And at the end of the year, it was kind of a wait and see game with Juice Wells and Spencer Rattler, whether they were going to return this year to South Carolina. And I guess Juice decided first that he was coming back. And I think that helped influence Spencer to come back. So we were glad they both returned because that was a big part of our offense last year. And like I talked about a little bit earlier, Dakereon Joyner. Dakereon Joyner is Mr. South Carolina football. If there's a lot of people out there that don't know about Dakereon Joyner, he is the epitome of a South Carolina Gamecock. He could have left. He could have transferred. He originally came in as a quarterback. They moved him to wide receiver. And along the way, he's gotten to play quarterback. 2019, he actually got in and had to play against Georgia in that victory for us. And then, 2 years ago, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, we were going through our issues at quarterback with everybody getting hurt. We had grad assistant Zeb Nolan. Luke Doty had broke his foot early in the season. So they came up with a game plan after the Clemson loss and to put Dakereon Joyner at quarterback. And it kind of switched out him and Zeb Nolan, but Dakereon Joyner was the MVP of the game. I mean, he just blew it up. So he is moving to running back. So I'm anxious to see how that's going to work out for us. But hopefully it works out really well. I really hope so. He's beefed up from what I understand. I mean, he's already I think he's around 6'1", 6'2". They say he's up there about 225. So yeah, that's a pretty good size running back, decent sized quarterback, whichever one you want to call him. Whatever, he's a Swiss Army knife, so he'll be what he'll be. The fourth guy I think that's going to be a big key for us this year is transfer from Arkansas, Trey Knox at tight end. Trey Knox looked really good last year. Good amount of touchdowns, big guy. I think Trey Knox is around 6'4", about 240, 245. Good tight end size, very athletic. Can block off the end of the line. So I think that's an improvement. Of course, he knows the system because he was with Dow Loggins last year at Arkansas. So he kind of knows the system. I think he's going to be a big key for us. The number 5 guy I had on this list, Xavier Leggett. Xavier Leggett showed some really good signs last year of developing. Now, he's been at South Carolina quite a few years now, and he's always been on the edge of just breaking through and getting to be that number 2 receiver. I don't think he's ever going to be a number 1, but he packed on some pounds, been in the weight room. Last time I saw him, they were showing the guys running some drills, and he was actually in a video yesterday with Deebo Samuel running on a treadmill. I think they were up to about 18 miles per hour on a treadmill, which I'm not going to try because I'll probably end up somewhere in the back of the gym, shot off the machine with a hurt back. Maybe 3.6 mile per hour for me. Another guy I want to talk about, Amarian Brown. He transferred in a few years ago from Georgia Tech. Had a lot of yards. Did really well at Georgia Tech. Good on special teams. Hasn't quite gotten over like where he needs to be at South Carolina yet. There's a smaller guy, fast guy, slot guy. I think this may be the year. This is the year we need to see him break out and really do something, because hopefully this new offense that we're going to run helps these guys. And the kid's got speed. No one's going to keep up with him if he breaks loose. So we just need to see him, wiggle those hips, get away from those defenders. Being a smaller guy, don't let them check you at the line. Just get out and do your work. Another guy we brought in, Eddie Lewis from Memphis last year. Another special teams guy, a lot of punt returns. And we're going to go through these guys' stats in a little while. I just want to go through the players first, and then we'll touch on the stats of each one of these guys and what we think they can improve, or what they really need to improve on our offense for us to be considered one of the top offenses in the SEC. I mean, we have the talent, and these guys, bringing in an Eddie Lewis, I think at 900 yards, we'll go through it, what he had in punts and punt returns and touchdowns and all that stuff. Josh Simon, he was a South Carolina guy as far as growing up in South Carolina. He actually went to Western Kentucky. He was a two-star guy when he went to Western Kentucky. And transferring into South Carolina, they rated him as a 4-star transfer. So that shows coaching, that shows development, that shows the kids out there ready to work and get better. And from all things I've heard about him since being on campus, that's what he does. He's a worker. And of course, one guy that everyone's excited about, Nicholas Harbor, coming in, 5-star out of Maryland. World-class Olympic speed kid, 6'5", 225. He was a defensive end, tight end, high school. He wants to run in the Olympics. So you don't want to gain a lot of weight. So this year he's going to play wide receiver at South Carolina. Now, defensive backs, watch out. Here comes a guy with Olympic speed that is 6'5", 225 pounds. So that's Calvin Johnson size. Just remember that. Now, whether his hands are going to be as good, all summer he's worked with wide receiver coaches. Seen some videos, seen a lot of photos of the kid putting in the work, trying to get better at wide receiver. And excited to see him. I think he'll make an impact. I don't know if he'll be, he's a 5-star. Everyone gets excited about 5 stars. But be patient. These kids are freshmen. They're freshmen coming out of high school. Be patient. Don't put over expectations on them. So we're just going to I want to run through some stats on some guys and see where we really, really can improve. Like I said, we started off with Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler had a 59.3 QBR last year. That's not great. Spencer Rattler is a better quarterback than that. He was 264 out of 399. completions versus attempts, 3,000 yards. I think he can do better than that. I think he has a wide receiving core this year, and I think he has some running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield. I want to see that improve. We need to get Spencer needs to be in that 4,000+ yard range. 18 touchdowns, need to get that over 20. Come on, Rattler. You can do it. Come out and play with a chip on your shoulder. This is your year. You're a senior. All the scouts, NFL, if you want to make it in that first round or top 5 draft picks, brother, this is the year you got to get out and do it. Don't make the mistakes. 12 interceptions. 12 interceptions, you cannot do that. That hurts your team. Just like, in the Clemson game, threw an interception, straight to the Clemson guy, pick 6. Cannot make those mistakes. Those mistakes for our team. Now, it didn't hurt us against Clemson. We were able to come back and win that game. But you got to cut down on those mistakes because they will lose you football games. Free points is not something we can give up. Now, we know there's no way you're going through the SEC and not throw interceptions, right? There's not a quarterback that's not. But limit the mistakes. Don't say don't make them, but just Spencer Rattler, do me a favor. Limit the mistakes. Stay calm. Make your reads. And just improve. That's all you can do. This is the year, brother. You want to get in that NFL first round draft, get in that top 5. This is the year you just got to do it. Juice Wells, we talked about earlier, our wide receiver. I think he was ranked 2 or 3 in the SEC last year. Caught 68 passes. Almost 1,000 yards, 928 yards. He averaged 13 yards per catch, that's outstanding. 6 touchdowns. I think we can get him the ball more this year. I expect that number to go up. I want to see 6 touchdowns improve for a number 1 wide receiver for a football team. But defenses will key on him this year. Last year when he came out of James Madison, he was a transfer. A lot of people didn't really start knowing who Juice Wells was until it got a little bit closer to the end of the season and started realizing this guy was a force to be reckoned with at wide receiver. That means the other wide receivers have got to get better. That means the tight ends have got to catch the ball, got to get open, because you cannot let Juice Wells get double covered. So, wide receiver core, step it up. We got to step it up. Like I talked about, he had 3 rushes for 10 yards, 1 touchdown. This was some of that generated offense we talked about with the jet sweeps and the reverses. This is how we generated offense last year. And I'm going to touch on a couple more guys that did the same thing that are still here. Now, there was other guys like Jalen Brooks, Josh Fan that were involved in a lot of that last year. They're gone now. They're going to the NFL. This is returning production, so this is what I want to see out of our guys, and this is where we got to get better. Come on, Gamecocks. DeCarrion Joyner, 3 for 3. This is throwing. This is his passing. He was 3 for 3, 100 yards, 1 touchdown. Now he's going to be a running back this year, so expect to see him throw the ball. So any other SEC team out here, don't say that the Rooster Man didn't tell you that DeCarrion Joyner running back is going to throw the football, because I'm telling you right now, he will get you. He also he ran 12 times, 56 yards. Didn't use him a lot. Like I said, this is some of that generated offense again, where you line him up at quarterback. He ran kind of some wildcat stuff. That's what he did. Receiving, 8 for 120, 1 touchdown. Like I said, this is how the guy generated. He had a touchdown passing. He had 2 touchdowns rushing, and he had 1 touchdown receiving. So generated offense, right? Swiss Army knife. You're not going to see any more proof that he's a Swiss Army knife than that. So pay attention to DeCarrion Joyner. I'm anxious to see how he's going to do it running back. And hopefully, I mean, he's just the kid you have to pull for. He's a South Carolina kid, born and raised in the Low Country. And he's stuck around. He's not one of these kids that hit the transfer portal that decided to run out and go somewhere else. Trey Knox, like I said, coming in from Arkansas, tight end. We basically lost in the bowl game last year. We had no tight ends. We started with basically one tight end because Jaheim Bell left. Austin Stogner transferred back to Oklahoma. The only tight end we had was Nate Atkins, and he ended up getting hurt. We lost that game by 7 points. Had we had those guys, our tight end room, a tight end, would have been great. We possibly could have won that game. I mean, our defense was playing great. We didn't have basically a running back. Marshawn Lloyd had already left. So it was just a room of whoever was left, that's what we played. And we still hung in there with Notre Dame and lost by 7 points and had a chance to win the game, honestly. So Trey Knox, 26, 296 last year, 5 touchdowns. Like I said, big kid, 6'4", 6'5", 245, 250 when the season starts probably. Averaged 11 yards a catch. Good for a tight end, I think. I think he's going to surprise some people this year. Because South Carolina's him and Spencer Rattler have a good relationship. So I have a feeling he's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way this year. We talked about Xavier Legette last year, 18 for 176, about a 10-yard average, 2 touchdowns, but he had 7 rushes for 21 yards. This is back to what we were talking about, the generated rushing game. Our running back room's down, but don't be surprised to see some wide receivers running the ball, especially a lot of screens and, like I said, the jet sweeps. You may even see some of these guys rotate into the backfield from the wide receiver position. It's hard to say. We don't know what Dow Loggins' offense is actually going to look like next year. We just know it's going to be a lot different than what it looked like last year. It's going to be more open. It's going to be more of the Browse system. And if anyone watched Baylor, Art Browse, Kendall Browse, the Browse system, you kind of know what this is, the RG3. Now, don't think you'll see, Kendall Browse came from that Browse offense. What they did at Arkansas last year, they ran the quarterback a lot. And we saw that with KJ Jefferson at Arkansas, and we saw KJ get hurt. And we saw the wheels fell off of Arkansas when KJ got hurt because they didn't have anyone behind him to really keep that team where it was going. So that injury, I don't think you're going to see Spencer Rattler out here running around like KJ Jefferson. Rattler's a little bit smaller guy, 6'1", probably around 215, 220 max. We can't afford to lose him. So you don't really want to see him out there trying to run through people. If Spencer runs, get down. Get down, don't take hits because we can't afford to lose him. If we were to happen to lose him, at least we have some experience with Luke Doty, who's there. Luke's been around a few years. Like I said, he broke his foot back in 2021, tried to play, hurt. Just didn't really work, And 2020, he got through into some games that, as a young guy, you just don't need to be throwing young quarterbacks into those type situations. So he's still here. He knows the playbook. He's right there with Rattler, hand in hand. And we got a good young freshman quarterback. And if anybody watched the spring game, the kid's a beast. I mean, he's 6'2". He's about 240, 245. He is a KJ Jefferson size kid, but he's more athletic. I've tried to look at comparisons and think about quarterbacks that I've seen kind of around. He's not as tall as you would think, like a Cam Newton or one of those guys, but he is a bigger guy. He's very athletic. He can throw the ball. He's got an arm on him. But he can also make people miss in open field. Or he can run over you at 245. So I don't want to throw another freshman out there. I'd rather have him gain some experience. But I would look for some packages. I think you will see the freshman quarterback especially in some games, maybe like Furman. If South Carolina's way ahead, you'll see him go in. The Jacksonville State game, South Carolina's well up. He'll go into that game. Other than that, we play 10 Power 5 teams. So I don't know. Starting off in North Carolina, game kind of scares me a little bit, but we need to set the pace. And the first game of the season to me is the most important because that's the game that's going to me, set your season up the first game. But we'll get back to Amarian Brown, who we talked about earlier. He was 5 for 50, 10 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns. He was 23 for 188 receiving. Like I said, 50 yards rushing. This is some more of that generated offense. And I don't know if y'all probably think I'm crazy because I keep repeating this. But as you can tell when I talk about these players, you see the generated rushing game. And this is where South Carolina is going to have to do it again this year. If the Gamecocks are going to win football games, we don't have that bell cow running back that's going to go out there and run for 150 yards a game. Or maybe we do, we just don't know he's there yet. We'll have to wait till the season starts to see that guy. But right now, this is the way you have to generate a rushing game. This is the way you have to put defenses on their toes. And I know it's going to be a different offensive style this year than last year, but I still think you have to use these guys in a similar way to generate rushing yards. Eddie Lewis coming in, like I said, we talked about him from Memphis last year. 41 catches, 603 yards, 7 touchdowns. Great addition to our wide receiver room. Now, I don't know if he's going to be a starter because I guess we all know that'll be determined here in a few weeks because we're almost there. August is almost here when fall practice starts. So there's going to be a lot of news coming hot and heavy the next few weeks. You got SEC Media Days coming in 2 weeks. You got practices starting in August. Eddie Lewis, punt return. This is it. The Pete Limbo special teams deal. This is where we're looking for. He had 27 attempts, 255 yards, and a touchdown. That's where South Carolina has to maintain being the number one special teams team in the country. That's where we need to be with him. Number one special team. Keep continuing to do it. Hell, our punter last year was 4 for 4 with like 2 touchdowns passing. Offense, right? Special teams, offense. We generated offense off of our special teams. Fake kicks, passes for touchdowns. We generated offense off of special teams. Continue to do that. It helps our offense. It helps our defense. It keeps our defense off the field and rested if special teams can get first downs and touchdowns. Really need to do that. Pete Limbo's the man to do it. Just keep watching South Carolina and watch our special teams. Josh Simon, like we talked about him, originally from South Carolina, 2-star recruit. He's from Sumter, went to Western Kentucky, developed. Coaching, developed. Everyone talks about stars, and I've made this argument, and people want to pick on me about it sometimes. Everyone talks about stars. Stars are generated by recruiting services that have a limited amount of people that are watching these kids. They're supposed to be the best of the best, but they have a limited amount of people. This is where you find I find a problem with recruiting services. Not everyone, not every recruiting service. I mean, I think some of them do really good jobs. But here it is. You have a team that has a staff. And everyone always talks about, what are these analysts? Why do they have so many analysts? That is what your analysts are doing. They are recruiting. They are looking at kids that fit your program, your style of play, and kids that they think can be developed. These names go from those guys to the coaches. The film that these guys are watching goes to the coaches. These are the kids that get invited to camps that don't have the big stars. These are where you find those 3-star, low 4-star kids that you bring in and you develop. And on Sundays, when you turn on the TV, the NFL is full of them. And you look around and you're like, well, where'd that guy come from? Who did he play for in college? You start trying to figure out who the guy played for because you never heard of him before. You know, if he played in the Big Ten people know exactly who the guy is. You know, the Pacheco kid from Kansas City. I had no clue who that guy was until he played for Kansas City. But you see what he's doing in the NFL? He wasn't a 5-star recruit. Development. Coaching staff is get your talent in, develop the kids. I've seen 5 stars go very bad. So, you know, take it however you want to take it. But I've seen lazy 5 stars, and I've seen 3 stars that would knock your block off. That's all I'm saying. Connor Shaw was the man at South Carolina. He was a 3-star, but you can't put a star on a heart. And there was nobody that had a bigger heart. They went out there dragging a leg, an arm. You couldn't keep him off the field. The only way you kept him off the field is you had to take his helmet. You cannot put a star on a heart. That's the kid I want playing for me. That's the kid that Shane Beamer wants playing for him. Like I said, Nick Harbor, he is the 5-star. And we are talking 5 stars. Nick Harbor is the 5-star South Carolina got last year. He was the big – everyone's talking about Nick Harbor, right? Big time for South Carolina to get Nick Harbor. It was a battle with Oregon to get him in. But everyone wanted Nick Harbor. And for South Carolina to land him, it was big time for us because South Carolina doesn't get a lot of 5 stars. Jordan Birch was a 5-star. I think he was number 2 behind Clowney in the history of South Carolina when it came to stars. Zach Pickens, who just went to the NFL, South Carolina was a 5-star when he came up. Stars. Yeah, you need them. But do they always turn out to be your best players? I don't think so. And like I said, biggest improvement I think needs to be made was in our running game. Got to get better at that. A lot of that starts at the offensive line. A lot of questions at South Carolina right now. Jalen Nichols was one of our starters, got hurt in the spring game. Ja'Kai Moore's in, has experience. LaShawn Lee's in, has experience. Tyshawn Wanamaker, another offensive lineman, has game experience. We brought in Nick Garzulu from Yale. He was the team captain. They only have one at Yale. But brought him in, offensive line. A couple names. Trey Jones has some experience. He'll be in there. I think a couple names to watch. Kason Henry, he got hurt last year. But if he's good to go by the first of the season, you'll see him rotate through. And Marky Anderson, another big-time freshman out of the state of South Carolina. Coming in, I think you'll see him rotate in and out of games. Highly ranked offensive lineman. Everybody wanted him. Georgia, everybody was after him. And a transfer in, Sidney Fugar, another huge, massive man. He transferred out of JUCO. I can't remember what junior college he came from, but I think he will be another guy. I look for us to rotate eight offensive linemen through and get them some experience. And hopefully we can block better than we did last year. Had some struggles at offensive line, and you wouldn't think that with a veteran offensive line. But we did, and I think that was a lot in the scheme. The blocking schemes they came up with for the kids were very confusing. So hopefully that's simplified this year. Hopefully the calls are being made correctly. And I just really am excited. The college football season is here. It's in the air. You guys smell it? Right around the corner. All the media days are here. All the hype's here. Talking season's almost over with. We actually really get to see some football. And I'm excited. I'm going to watch week 1-0. I'm going to watch Vandy in Hawaii. I'm pulling for Vandy. SEC. Come on, Vandy. You got it. I pulled for Vandy last year to beat Florida. Thought it was the funniest game. I was laughing the whole time, even though Florida crushed us last year. But I was still, come on, Vandy. Come on, Vandy. pulling for the underdog, right? But yeah, next week, going to come up with another show, probably go through defense. Players I'm really excited to see on defense next year. Now, we do have some really nice young guys coming in defense that's been around that the whole team's excited about, the coaches are excited about, the fans are excited about. And the one thing I like about Gamecock players, man, I don't know about other fan bases because I don't interact with them on Twitter and stuff, but the players on the team, the former players at South Carolina, those guys interact with the fans. They're on Twitter. You post good things to them. They post good things back to you. You get to see what a lot of these guys are doing, former Gamecocks are doing with their personal life after football. Ace Sanders, who's not far from me, and a lot of you guys may know, I did a video on my channel yesterday about top 10 all-time favorite Gamecocks on offense. Ace Sanders, I named him in there. Electrifying. Well, he's doing a lot of work with kids down here in Palmetto, Florida, running them up and down the hills, teaching them football. I know Perry Orth runs like a quarterback camp, him and Steven Garcia. He's a high school coach. Those guys are very interactive in the fan base. And you can talk to them. And that's what I love about our Gamecocks. Once a Gamecock, always a Gamecock. And I know Mr. Mark Rogers, appreciate him again for inviting me into the family. We're going to keep pushing. We're excited about college football season. And we're going to have a lot to talk about when it gets here. And we're going to have a lot to talk about before it gets here. Like I said, SEC Media Days are coming up. You know, everyone has breaking news. Maybe Beamer comes out with another one of his videos. Turn his little hat backwards and put his little sunglasses on and get out and do a video and sing and dance for us. The excitement of Shane Beamer at South Carolina, people won't understand, and they like to make fun. Oh, that was a goofy video. He should have never done that. Well, you know what? The young kids like it. The recruits like it. The team likes it. It doesn't matter what fans of other teams say. Shane Beamer, keep doing what you're doing, buddy. Everyone's got your back. Well, I'm going to jump off of here. Appreciate everyone that watched the show, hung out with me tonight. Like I said, next week we'll be back. And we're going to do this with the defense. And we're going to have fun with it just like we have fun with it tonight. Like I said, thank you, Mark Rogers, for putting me in the family here at the Voice of College Football, South Carolina channel. We're growing. Please hit that like, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. We're trying to build a South Carolina channel right here. Mark's gracious enough for let us to have his big channel, and that man loves to work. I've never seen anyone work on YouTube more than Mark Rogers. But just want to say thank you. All you guys have a great week, great weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday. Until then, above all else, love your brother.